Hello everybody. Welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial cast. I am still your host, Alex, also known as XQ with Master on the internet, and of course I'm still joined by the insatiable Good Brother duo, which is my color commentator and play-by-play caster, Nymera, and Initialized. Gentlemen, we just saw an amazing game to begin our series.
Kindred wins!
Kindred wins, and it's going towards your prediction. I'm surprised you have enough intro for that. Enough breath for that intro, Lexi. Surprised you've got enough breath for those team fights as well. It seemed like it was just constant action as soon as we reached a certain point in the game. I think DFM used the zone control afforded by Heimerdinger and Aphelios so well. It was very impressive how they played around. I think Sengoku's laning phase on the whole was pretty good. I think they used their early priority very well around Blank. But the Jace didn't do it for me.
Yeah, the Jace was a big question mark pre-game during the break when I came back on. I asked you that question. You were like, well, it's good against the Aatrox, but eh. And I'm
doesn't take into account top diff.
Top diff is a thing. Also, it's just... I think Ornn would have just been nicer for the side of Sengoku, offers more team fight potential. I mean, to be honest though, to give credit to Sengoku, they did actually have a very strong team fight, looking like they almost were going to take that last dragon, but they didn't have the AD carry focused.
I'd normally let you talk, but there's a bit of a balancing act between wanting the early priority of the Jace and wanting the team fight the Ornn. We saw that Sengoku won the early Herald. And they also managed to get some invaders to the top side, and they played around the pot, pushing top and mid pretty well in the early game, but in the late game it just fell apart.
I mean, I think that's
yeah, and it did. And the thing is, we say it was pushing top side, but remember that turret went super low for
after like the first couple of minutes, it was kind of crap.
And that is a big news. In fact, we had someone in our Discord chat throw up some of AB's stats, and like this man has been absolutely obscene over this split.
He has for top lanes best KDA 5.5, highest average kills 4.5, second lowest deaths at 1.9, highest average assists of 5.6, highest gold per minute, highest damage percentage of his team, highest DPM in general, and the second lowest first blood victim. What can't he do?
Second place in 2 and 6 in the other, as well as first place. That's insane, the kind of stats that this man's pulling down, as the damage graphs are up currently for us. So let's have a quick breakdown on that. I mean, we question the Jace pick. The damage is coming out, but is the damage effective is the grand scale of things, right?
Yuumi, Severum, you've got the Kindred with a lot of lifesteal and kit as well, and the Aatrox builds a Death Stance too. The damage didn't... There were points where Sengoku were actually getting good poke down, there were multi-man shock blast being happen, but you couldn't capitalize on it because of some really clutch... not Empress Divides, that was the other thing which could have
Lamb's Respite.
Lamb's Respite was the thing I was going to talk about. There was so much damage mitigated by that Kindred. Really important pick.
And another player to bring up, look at Utapon in this damage graph. He is currently 10,000 damage ahead of the Misfortune. He's double the damage over that. And that is a massive amount of damage discrepancy. And we saw what the Aphelios with the Yuumi on top was doing in the late game.
That's the area control.
That's the area control. And with this, and Seros and the turrets on top of that, throwing down some extra DPM, it is pretty difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it just went from like... I mean, it began very good for Sengoku. I mean, they had that very early lead. They got the first blood. They got the...
Lanes were going okay.
They got the Drake as well. And I mean, I think this is a really good first team fight that's coming out.
But here is that first blood play, I think, on the mainstream.
On the mainstream, they're playing the replay of the...
We are also
Dragon Steel. Yeah, the second dragon where Steel gets the steal. They get a slew of kills afterwards. They knew that Apperman didn't have teleport. There wasn't an engaged play from Pyrion there. I think with the flash, with the ultimate, I think you got to punish Steel a bit harder from getting caught with that hook there. So for me, Pyrion, as much as he played very well, and his laning phase was great, and actually I wouldn't fault Pyrion for that game. I think they just needed a bit more bloodthirstiness, which we normally see from V3 or CGA in these kind of games.
That is very true. The bloodthirsty teams are now no longer with us. These are the more calculated teams that won't just fight for the sake of fighting. Trying not to be the LPL or the VCS, I think, is the way to think about it. These aren't
maybe
the
they
teams.
should.
Maybe they should. I mean, but granted, Sengoku is the team that has made DFM fall down once before. What do they need to do to get back on that horse, Nymera?
I think that game could have gone differently with a series of plays kind of going a little bit better for them. I think that as soon as you start giving up the soul priority, and that's another problem as well, right? If you're rolling the dice on the kind of soul you're going to get, Cloud Soul doesn't win you the game, not really. But something like an Ocean Soul might, something like an Inferno Soul might in terms of the poke and stuff. But looking back at some of the replays on the stream too, right? Eventually it got to the point where like it didn't matter how many Drakes they had, the items on the Aphelios with the Yuumi just made it so hard with the zone control. Because the thing about DFM's team is it buys so much space for the Aphelios to run forward, and with the extra move speed from Yuumi, he always gets to the targets he needs to. So I think that DFM's come to the late game needed to be at a significant disadvantage, really, for Sengoku to win.
I also want to potentially call out for myself something in the draft. They went for the first pick Trundle. They were calling out Steel, saying, "What have you got if we take you off Trundle?" He goes towards the Kindred, looks good on it. Blank struggles. He's not really got any tank to steal stats from. He's kind of getting slow by the Kindred. He's finding it difficult into fights. And I wonder about that Trundle priority, maybe waiting before you pick that. And if DFM are showing,
Trundle's
he
totally
can pretty well, but like
fine.
come the team fights, it was really struggling.
The Trundle's totally fine, and I disagree. It was struggling. He was very important with the pillar in a lot of spots to actually displacing the team. Arguably, they could have actually won that last fight because of off the back of the Trundle. It was purely just due to Yutapong having a great synergy, being able to basically kite around and go around, and also landing a almost 3-person, 4-person Aphelios ult also.
Exactly, yeah.
With Flamethrower as well.
I think the Infernum, well, yeah, I think
Infernum was pretty
just
big.
having the Infernum to have like the gun available too, and just like start spitting out hot fire, like
literally hot fire.
Spitting out hot fire, yeah. I think basically just the ability to have the Yuumi just speed up the Aphelios was so ridiculous in running down that team there, particularly after the Azir had already used his mobility spells and stuff too, so he couldn't really threaten the Aphelios with the Emperor's Divide and stuff. So yeah, I'd like to see some adaptation from particularly around the top side from
True.
From Sengoku, because I think the early prio didn't transfer, particularly when that early Herald fight went 1-for-1. It was the Jace that died, and and the Jace did not get any kill participation in that fight either. At that point, Ebby just did Ebby things, and we've seen him do this for literally years. This guy is the best top laner in the region. He's an international talent, I'd even go as far as saying, and he just took Aphelios, Appamen to the works, really.
And there is something as well, like what Sengoku Gaming wanted to do, like Misfortune Bullet Time blows people up. Hard to do that through a Kindred ult. Well, you know, the lots of poke coming in from a Jason and Azir with a Ludens at war, the Comet particularly. Hard to get that through the Yuumi. And like there were just certain elements where it was like a lot of Sengoku's damage was struggling to stick, and they've just got to think a little bit about how they want to deal with this kind of surprising comp again with DFM.
I mean, I think the one thing that really kind of threw them off, honestly, was just that Kindred, right? It was just that jungle pick which kind of threw them off. I don't think it's necessarily a huge problem. I think if they were maybe a slightly more prepared going into this next game, I don't think Kindred's going to work as effectively the second time round. I think it's a kind of pick where you pick it one time, the team's caught off guard, they've not played against it for a while. How do I do this? Oh, and now after one game, you could already see towards the end of that game that, honestly, I think they were kind of getting used to the Kindred being around and playing around the ultimate.
I mean, like, as much as we don't want to, like, invoke hallowed moments too much, remember, like, Blank was part of the team which has arguably been part of the match, which has had the most weird champions picked out of meta in terms of the meta he was in at that point. In the semi-finals, which SKT had versus Rocks Tigers in Season 6 Worlds. The Misfortune support coming out. That was something which SKT on stage was saying, wait, this is a mistake, they picked it wrong. And then they had to adapt to that in series. So Blank has been part of an environment which has adapted very strong. We're going to cut off that reference there now because like there's so many other players, so many different players on the teams, and it's a very different time. But I mean, there's still something there to.
Are you sure you want to invoke it anyway? Because Blank got subbed out for the win for SKT in that series.
So Initialize, I want to ask you a question. I asked Nymera what do they need to do to change it for Sengoku. Initialize, what do DFM need to keep doing to keep winning?
I think what they do is they've got quite a good. They need to be setting up for the counters and the draft the way they were in the first game. They saw the Trundle, they lock in the Kindred. It's a great matchup for the Kindred. They saw the Azir and said, well, we can pick the Heimerdinger in and feel pretty confident. We've got the Yuumi there to avoid a lot of the poke. And I think it is that kind of, in the first series, it was Sengoku Gaming's vision control around Drakes. It was they actually just got a little bit out-comped. If DFM can kind of use their weird and wonderful champion pools to force Sengoku Gaming into awkward positions, that's great. And if they can continue contesting aggressively around Drakes, I think DFM can come out on top.
Nymera, any respond to that as Initialize responded to yours?
Yeah, no, I think that I'd really like to see some level 1s out of Sengoku to at least get themselves a controlled jungle start, so they can see where the jungles are starting. That was something which has been really big against DFM in the past. But we didn't see it yesterday from V3. We didn't see it today just yet.
I'll have to cut you off there, though, Nymera. We have got into our pick and ban phase, so good luck to both these teams, and let's see how they get on. Take it away, gentlemen.
Yuumi ban. I like it.
Yeah, we are in a draft, and there is a Yuumi ban. It's off the table. Set has been banned as well. Varus and Graves for DFM, and it is worth pointing out that Sengoku Gaming have chosen blue side again. So this will be a return to the same sides this game around. Okay. There has been a switch of ban priority thus far for Sengoku Gaming. Depends if they go to the Renekton here, or whether they're potentially thinking about first picking it.
Remember, in the first game, they banned the Ziggs?
They did. Elise has been banned. Ziggs and Renekton are up.
Okay, so I guess that what they're saying is that, well, if we're going to not ban the Renekton, we're not going to give you the Elise to go with it. So we're happy with you picking the Renekton, just not the combo of those two champions. Heimerdinger not banned, Ziggs not banned. That was one of their first bans as well in the last game. So we'll see what DFM wants to leave up as a potential first pick. Of course, we didn't see Ornn picked up in the entire draft. It wasn't banned. It wasn't picked last game. So maybe that's a priority. LeBlanc is going to be the last ban from DFM again. Pyrion's so good at that champion. We'll see, actually, if Sengoku wants to prioritize something like a Zoe this game instead, actually. They picked up the Azir. It worked well for the Pyrion. But the Zoe can give you some extra options coming into these games. And with the Yuumi removed, it's still a very strong poke option.
Yeah, and the LeBlanc off, it leaves more counter pick options for Seros. It potentially leaves Ebby in a freer spot to find a pick.
Again.
First pick Trundle again. And we saw the answer of the Kindred in the last game. We'll see whether DFM want to run it back. We'll see what their first two picks are. It was Aphelios and Kindred last time around. They might be just going for that one more time.
Oh, but remember this time, it won't be an Aphelios with the Yuumi for that extra mobility and the Zoomies for the extra move speed.
And the heals won't be around to save.
The heals won't be around there as well. It won't prop up the laning phase. There's a lot of different things which they can pair with it, but the Yuumi was very important last game, and Gang played it so well.
Yeah, Aphelios has been picked up here. We'll see what this next pick for DFM will be. Is it going to be the Kindred again?
But this is the thing, though. The danger is DFM might think that Sengoku have themselves a counter prepared now, so they might not want to pick the early Kindred and say, look, we pulled it out. It was a bit of a sucker punch. I'm just going to say, well, you weren't prepared for it. We'll see if they want to lock it in again. They're
confident.
Throwing down the gauntlet once more.
They are going to pick it up. There it is. Kindred is in. Lamb's Respite was pretty good versus the Misfortune in particular. Has a great option into the Trundle, as we've spoken about before. This is looking a little bit like a bit of a run back, but without the Yuumi on the table, that's something for Sengoku Gaming.
I would also, it's last time it was the Thresh and the Misfortune. They might lock in the Thresh just now. They're thinking about the other options. I'd almost like to see an Aatrox locked in now, because I think that Aquaman's best champion is the Aatrox. It was taken away from him, and that meant that Aquaman really didn't affect it. As much as the damage graph showed it, just the healing from the Yuumi meant that Jace really didn't affect the game that much.
It really didn't. And we'll see what Sengoku Gaming lock in here. They've got all of their solo lanes and a bot lane to think about. They are thinking about the Misfortune.
I mean, it was fine in lane. It ended up... You could see how it could work if things would get... Please not, Rammus, no.
That would be highly entertaining, but...
the last
okay pick.
The last Rammus game I remember was Shook playing it for Alliance of Season 4 Worlds. I know it's been played since then, but that's the only time
I do remember. But Shook was a guy who played Riven Jungle, remember? He was an odd duck.
And so did Spirit back on WE way back in Season 5
Man
as
alive.
well.
There is a thought. They're thinking about a Blitzcrank, though.
So Aphelios Blitzcrank is a well-known combo. You use the Graviton route to set up the Rocket Grab. It means that it's not really a skill shot anymore. It means you can play around some very dangerous Graviton ults into Blitzcrank combos. Blitzcrank is not necessarily good into the Thresh because you hook the Thresh, he gets his Aftershock on there, and then, particularly in the 2v2, and then you can turn around the fight pretty well with a Flay and a hook, of course, when he gets the Aftershock available. Going into second ban phase, the Zoe, which I was calling out before, it wasn't prioritized in the first 3 picks from Sengoku, so it's going to be banned away from DFM immediately.
It is. And also, Blitzcrank is just, versus something immobile like a Misfortune, she's going to have to strut her way around those hooks. And if she's kind of...
You can't do that if you're rooted.
And you can't do that if you're rooted. So there is some room to play that. But remember, Gang does need to be hooking the Misfortune. That is his target.
Okay, Heimerdinger are actually going to be banned this time.
Yeah, and it was a great answer last time with the Azir. So... we know the Azir did well into lane, but the turret versus soldier set up around Drake's was a bit of a hot contesting point between the two teams, and Sengoku Gaming.
Just the area denial from the Ziggs.
So obnoxious.
The thing is that when you have a Ziggs, at least it's only momentary. You have to dodge the skill shot. I mean, the minefield does affect things as well, but it's not like having like 4 turrets down. The Victor's going to be a banned away from DFM again. I think that's a decent ban just because of the death ray being able to, and also the defensive nature of Victor as well, being able to get the Q shield.
Scale super well.
It scales super well. You can one shot the Kindred. I'm happy they've removed that. It's still a good ban.
Yeah, we'll see what the pick is here.
Syndra was the last ban last time, remember?
Yeah, Syndra's probably not a bad thought here either. Another one of those long-range stuns that would make Misfortune's day a little sad. And also not bad into something potentially like an Azir, I guess, if that was going to be a pick.
Yeah. So, Sengoku are actually going to keep their bans there the same. The last time, Ebi picked up the Aatrox, this time without the Yuumi, though. Sometimes that does affect the Aatrox too, because you can just have that Yuumi hop onto the Aatrox, give up the extra healing, and of course his ultimate increases the heals which he receives, so that increases the Yuumi healing as well. And of course the last chapter being able to be that extra engage tool, locking people in place.
Yeah, we'll see what the pick is. Think about going to go towards what looks like an Azir here. Take that away from Pyrion. So, see what his answer is, though.
I think the Orianna might be a good pickup here, actually.
Yeah, not bad.
Something which Pyrion goes towards. It can work really well.
Corki would make a lot of sense.
Corki Azir.
I feel like I've seen this before.
But it's good poke, right? If you can pick up yourself Jace Corki this time around, there's no Yuumi to heal it up. It's really good into the Azir if you land enough skill shots. The Corki will be locked in. It scales super well, and with the the new addition of the Muramana build, which a lot of players do go towards. I think that this is a good scaling option in the mid lane. Okay, they're picking up the Aatrox themselves. Yeah, that's a good point.
Is really good on this pick, and it'll give him a little bit more agency, a little bit more option. They've still got poke with the Corki. Do DFM run towards the Nara? It has been their call into an Aatrox before. Jace would be good. There is still Ornn. That's an option here. Would give them a little bit more solid engage, especially because DFM have got a very strong backline with 3 very big carries, but they are thinking about the Nara for a little bit more.
So basically what they're saying is they prefer themselves the laning priority, which Ebi gets when he's in a favorable matchup, as compared to the dedicated engage of the Ornn. What this means is that DFM are kind of waiting for the Graviton. That's kind of what they're waiting for. Seros pulled out the Azir yesterday versus V3 in game 4,
shuffles,
and it was awesome. His TP, basically what I was saying off of cast was like, how many times in a game does a player really get a chance to make a game-changing play? In the game 4 versus V3, Seros arguably had about 4 of those plays, most of them involving teleports or stopping teleports of his own right. He was doing very well in lane versus Ace, but Pyrion, I would say, is a caliber above Ace, particularly in the laning phase. And with this matchup in particular, we know it can be non-interactive.
Apperman and Blank have not shifted roles. That is an Aatrox in the jungle unless there's been a problem with drafts, which is also a possibility.
That's okay, right. So we're going to drop whatever we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Trundle top lane, which has been played. I know Ebi plays it in solo queue and has a ridiculous win rate. And it's going to be an Aatrox jungle, which is a little... Oh, it is different.
Okay, it was a spectator bug. That's the way it was. I just saw...
Thanks for baiting me, dude.
It went to 20 seconds and it wasn't switched.
Okay, fair point.
So I was like, okay, is this a spectator bug? Is something else? But, figured it was worth calling out just in case. But it is the Aatrox top lane. Makes a lot more sense.
Okay, anyway, with the actual drafts being shown on screen...
Sorry, buddy.
We're going to have ourselves, once again, this little break before we get back into games. So, as we normally do, Mass Swan, if you're around, you'd like to grace us with your presence?
I am around, so it's perfectly okay. Well, Nar's back, isn't he?
He is. And that means there's not necessarily the same level of engage.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, also, I'm interested to see Gang's Blitzcrank, honestly, more than anything else that we're seeing here. This is going to be a very interesting lane. Aphelios Thresh versus MF... Oh no,
MF Thresh versus
Aphelios Blitzcrank. I slightly like to give it more to the Thresh MF, as I just kind of prefer what that lane offers. I think sometimes Aphelios can be slightly gun dependent. If you have the correct ones, then it's great. But
and hooking the Thresh, you need to do it in careful situations.
Yes, yeah, or Thresh can hook you.
Yeah, because like if you hook the Thresh gets aftershock. You start disengaging from the play. Misfortune can get the Lantern to get that extra movement speed, get that extra gap close, and then use the strut to kind of chase people down. It's really dangerous if you end up ever kind of engaging onto the Thresh. But then with the Graviton into the Rocket Grab, of course there are good combos that are available from that duo. So it's going to be a 2v2 skill matchup. Once again.
I mean, this mid lane's going to be exciting to watch, right?
Should be.
Corki is
No, that is the most non-interactive matchup in the history of mid lane. It's no, it's
what
not.
What I will say,
it's really good in team fights. The team fights are good, but not lane.
And what I will say is that Pyrion and Seros are both more than willing to teleport into fights, particularly around hotspots like the bot lane and potentially the top lane.
It's also patch 10.8, so Corki's had a buff on 10.7 for his package. Really strong nuke now.
So a repeat on the jungle. Trundle Kindred. Do we expect this to go similar to how it went last time? Is it different? Thoughts, gentlemen? Different draft, obviously.
So the priority in mid lane probably going to be quite even. I think that Corki can get priority early because of Frost Bomb's early damage, but then of course soldiers have a fair bit of wave clear. Although they did nerf, they changed his AoE way back when to basically mean that his first target damage, no, his second target damage when he autos a target, the AoE, it's rather low. So I think Corki should get early prio. But then if you manage to get a good route into the mid lane and kind of, we saw what, the flash trade in mid lane was pretty important last game for prio and stuff.
It was. But with that all said, gentlemen, it's game on time for Detonation FocusMe facing off against Sengoku Gaming. Gentlemen, good luck to both these teams and take it away.
And take it away we shall, as will DFM and Sengoku Gaming. Kindred versus Trundle one more time. It is the old staple of Corki versus Azir, much to my colorcaster's displeasure. But with a Blitzcrank this time around, with a Thresh this time around, do we see some more level 1 shenanigans?
Looks like a 5-man spread again.
5-man spread, and again invading into a Blitzcrank, or a Blitzcrank invading into you can be a bit of a scare. So it might be dissuading Sengoku Gaming from that. And Trundle's not a bad level 1 champion with the pillar. You can do a lot of disruption in the jungle, but always a bit of a risk. Gang is around in this mid lane bush, just looking to see whether somebody can be found.
Yeah, so things that are important to note, it's a spellbook Corki, it's not going to be the fleet footwork, it's going to be the comic from the Azir, which means that arguably the poke trades, just in terms of the how you expect the lane to go, probably go in the trade of Saros early on because of the comet, and there's no exactly early healing from the outside of pots and potions from Perry. And of course, he'll have himself corrupting pot and the cookies, but not having the fleet footwork means that sometimes you end up being a little bit lower in HP.
Go.
I guess it's just a confidence pick.
We'll have to see where you end up with those what do we call it, like whether that health bar trade does end up, and the AI bot has switched itself to a 50-50. We are dead even, ladies and gents.
We are absolutely indeed. Appman is just very confident on this Aatrox pick, so hopefully we'll see a little bit of a difference in the top lane this time. So yeah, we get ourselves into the laning phase, and nothing really odd about the starts. Jungler starting on opposite sides of the map. Trundle once again starting on the bot side. Kindred starting again on the top side, making their way down to the opposite sides of the map as the clear goes on.
Yeah, and it kind of means that you end up sort of potentially looking for a Scuttle Crab trade. Kindred would be looking towards the bot side River one, and Trundle potentially towards the top. And you got to kind of pray for the right mark spawn. But we'll have to see how it goes. Good Frost Bomb trade from Perrin in the mid lane.
Yeah, Perrin just stepping beyond the soldiers there to make sure that the extra autos weren't coming in from that. Landing the Frost Bomb, had himself the Gatling gun as well for the armor shred. Well, the resist shred and the extra damage over time coming in from that.
Resist shred it was, and it was a bit of a chunk onto Saros, who's pretty unhappy about that little trade in his life, but have to deal with it. Good pressure early on in this lane, but that does set up potentially for Kindred to come in for an early gank.
Yeah, with the level 2.
They're coming for the ward. Level 2 has been hit.
Good awareness from Sengoku there.
Oh,
no, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh boy, Utomiyashi is potentially in a bit of trouble here. They're going to try and find their way out. Kindred's here. They're on to Enti, who's in a lot of trouble. Aftershock has worn off. First blood to Kindred. Utomiyashi has to flash as well. That's just good news.
It is, and it's bad news bears for Sengoku's bot lane. I thought they had the awareness to not step up to the turret, but that was just trying to respect
Trundle.
Oh, Trundle is here. Has red buff. He's got the
it'll be both junglers with red buff, and Blank just runs away having thrown down a bit of a chomp.
Yeah, he had himself the phase rush. Could have chased down Steel if he wanted to, but didn't really want to stick around while the bot lane of DFM had priority themselves. And will mean that the bottom scuttle will go over to the Kindred. It's not the marked one, though.
It isn't. And part of it as well was Corki had to back having to take a bad trade in the mid lane. So
he's used all of his he used all of his corrupting pot trades. Basically, still finds a really good gang path. Gets a really early level 3 aftershock pot from NT, but it's just not enough at this point in the game. It's not as many flat resists as it used to be. And Flash traded because that hook was very much on target.
Was a bit of trading around this top side. Ebby's wandered down, but can't really get there in time. The sweeper blocks off that ward. Oh, no, not the sweeper. Apologies. It'll be the control ward that blocks off that ward. Pyrion will just wander in, maybe looking to steal some Raptors over the wall with the Frost Bomb, but just goes for the Vision Plan instead.
No, nowadays you don't really end up stealing Raptors that early. I mean, maybe Talon can or something like that. But there are not too many champions which can really do that same. I mean, we saw that low back in Season 5, right? But it's slightly harder to steal Raptors as a mid laner nowadays.
It is.
At this early game, anyway.
And Corky's gone for the cull after that back. Did have to go back a little early, but that cull is always a nice one in a kind of relatively uninteractive.
Did someone say non-interaction?
You go for that. But the teleport has been burned, whereas Seros has kept his. And when we know both of these players like to use their teleports in interesting and provocative manners, having one up over the opponent could be pretty powerful.
It could be, but it's not like... I mean, Pyrion is just going to scale to infinity on this Corki eventually. We haven't seen exactly what first time he's going to go, whether he will go towards that Muramana. We expect it to be so. And yeah, Seros taking a pretty good trade here, getting a lot of autos down, actually. He's gone for the Comet, as we said. Pyrion going to use this time to back, though I think there's a cannon wave coming up, so it should be a fine back.
Yeah, it should well be.
I'm not sure about
most of these lanes, though, going pretty even. Bot lane, though, slightly ahead for Utorimashi right now, but there's a big wave for Utapon to pick up.
Yeah, Steel was looking, is still looking.
Utorimashi gets knocked up, and he's done. It's another 2v2 in the bot side that has gone the way of DFM. What is it with this bot lane and clutch playoff matches?
The communication just wasn't there from the bot lane of Sengoku. Utorimashi stayed up in lane while Thrash was not there to defend his AD carry. It means that another kill goes over, this time the kill going over to the Aphelios, and an early Dragon going over to DFM. Fantastic early game from them thus far from this 2v2.
And speaking of confidence picks, Gang on the Blitzcrank goes for these flashy flash hook. Yeah. And he forces the early flash from Utorimashi. He punishes again with the Lantern interrupt. He is playing so damn well on that Blitzcrank.
He is indeed. So yeah, now Sengoku are going to have to look to stabilize.
I mean, they're down 1,000 gold. It's 5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that's quite a lot as far as things go. At least shuffle. I'm not actually sure if there was mana available from Seros there, but he does end up shuffling, forcing out the Valkyrie. A long cooldown as well, so maybe Kindred can try and find an opening in that mid lane.
Yeah, it's about a 30-odd second cooldown, isn't it? It's pretty long. And let's just look at this replay again. Hook lands.
It's a good hook.
That knockup.
Yeah, even with the movement speed from the strat, which was active there, didn't end up being able to sidestep that. And Utorimashi, first death of the game, but really bad.
And I think Utorimashi might still have been in trouble even if he hadn't been interrupted, because Kindred was there with Flash and Dance of Arrows, and he was already on about a third HP.
I think he would have been able to get out if the hook.
Gang's in mid.
Yeah, Gang's in mid now. And
with movie boots. Steals over the wall, teleports coming in. Pyrion's gonna have to be very, very careful. He's got knocked up, the hook's there. Now he's in trouble. He's done for.
It's the Gang show, man. Gang just pulling off some crazy plays on the Blitzcrank. He's affected one AD carry, goes over to one other area of the map, affects the other one too. And Pyrion, he's wanting to scale, but DFM not content to let him do that.
And that's a rough one.
Yeah, that's rough. And Sengoku, they're just not respecting the Blitzcrank right now. I think Utorimashi, a lot of that was quite simple in terms of he didn't have flash, but then Pyrion, he just doesn't. There's no communication from the bot lane there. He fell straight into the path.
Another fantastic knock up.
It's knock up into hook. Once again,
it is, and like we've got to also comment that like
we're going to
the hook's been dodged. That return hook was missed though.
It was, yeah.
And that's pretty big news. There's a bit of trading going on the top side. Well underburned.
Oh, if he hits the first Q there, he's looking to take a really heavy trade. And I was about to say, actually, top lane is the 1 point, which is kind of going even for Sengoku right now. Of course, there's the 10 CS lead in the mid lane. These kills aren't the end of the world. We haven't really seen first items completed. And Sengoku's team comp will be much better in team fights compared to the last game one, because just the zone control isn't quite the same as the Heimerdinger. So I think
they're looking to potentially contest. Utopon's got to be careful. They're stepping forwards. They're going to be in a 2 versus 3 though. Here comes the Aphelios ultimate. Gang's now in
trouble. That's a bullet time.
But Utopon's going forward. He's trying to get onto Utorimashi. He will end up being his life. Does get the chakrams. He will go down in a 2-for-1, but the AD carry does fall.
Oh, yes,
Sarah's going forwards for another massive trade, and he's stuck on the soldier as Pyrion.
Yeah, he was just looking for an extra couple of autos there at the end of it. So the mid lane, it's a tier to AP there from the Azir. So Corki does kind of start not wanting to take a lot of these trades now until he gets up to that Muramana, well, the Mana Moon, and then a couple of components towards the Triforce kind of point. But yeah, no, Sengoku finally fire back. Unfortunately, Misfortune does die, which does mean that does manage to pick up a lot of that.
There's the shuffle this time, having burnt the Valkyrie, and Pyrion is dead again. Gang's here. He might have died in lane, but it doesn't matter. Caceros gets another kill, and Pyrion is once again shoving without much defense. Utorimashi roamed, but it's too late.
Oh, Gang just putting on a clinic here. And as much as I thought that yesterday Reina played very well and made the gap between the top 2 supports in the region relatively low.
Steel.
Oh, this could be very dangerous.
He takes the mounting dread. That's a lot of damage onto Utorimashi. Torimiyashi, the hook goes out, but now he's going to have to find a long way back to lane, and that gives Yutapon free time on that tower.
Corki's picked up the package, and the bot lane's roamed back to mid here. See if there's a play to be made. Maybe Pyrion goes down towards the bot lane, but no, it looks like Yutapon actually, because of Steel preventing Sengoku from roaming down towards their own bot lane tower, will be some plates going over to DFM.
It does mean they're going to start up the Rift Herald, though, and that's not a bad trade. That's probably what the bot lane was roaming up for anyway, but they just diverted
they were roaming
over.
back towards bot lane. That's the thing. I think they found themselves some priority, and they didn't want this to happen. And with the turrets under tower as well, some extra damage coming through there. Looks like it might even end up being 4 plates for the Herald there.
And that is not a worthy trade, largely. We have had this conversation before. I believe it was Double Lift. Basically said, look, if you end up trade 2 waves plus 2 plates, I think is the answer. For the Herald, it's largely not worth it. The expected value from a Herald just isn't that high, and Yutapon is going to get first turret here.
I'm not sure he'll get it on this wave, so we'll see if he actually manages to do it. It's going to be pretty close. The Herald is actually on Torimiyashi. It's not on Blank here. That's something which is a little bit different. They're still staying topside here. So, so actually, Yutapon going to push in this next wave. We'll see if Aquaman can get there in time to clear it.
And there isn't flash on that Aphelios as well, so you have to be a touch careful maybe about...
he's going to take it. Actually, Batman's going to back off and take Krugs.
Nah, it's probably sensible. We don't know where anybody else is.
Don't do Krugs, kids. Don't do Krugs.
Don't do Krugs, but it does lead to a 2,000 gold lead for DFM and first turret
Blank's
down on that bot side.
Lane.
He is, but so is Steel, and could be a bit of a risk. Ebby just walking forwards. That kind of prevents the Rift Herald play they were potentially looking for up here.
And there is so much gold on that.
Oh, my days.
1,300 gold or thereabouts at the advantage to Yutapon. We saw what he could do with a stronger Aphelios in the last game. Of course, there is no Yuumi, but the gold is still very squarely in the advantage for DFM in this early game.
And we saw what he could do with that kind of gold advantage yesterday. Need I remind you, he ended up 13-0-2. Second Drake started up for DFM, and thank you. And the second Drake will be started up here for DFM. They'll pick it up. No contest. Kindred gets that one.
Yeah.
I don't know whether she's picked up as many marks as she'd like. A lot of her kills haven't been on marked targets, but she's 1-0-1. She's farming quite happily. Drakes are there. So she's not going to be the carry threat this game, I don't think. Or they. Apologies, of course, it is. Lamb and Wolf.
Yeah, it is a duo.
It is a duo. I should know that. I really
It's like the Ice Climbers. Rip Ice Climbers.
I've got a really cool Kindred icon as my phone background.
Oh, cool.
I do. Nice. Pretty cool. It's, I'll have to remember the artist's name, but they posted it on Reddit a while ago. Pretty cool.
Nice.
But there we go. It's I should know better is basically what I'm saying, and I didn't. So I apologize to the Kindred mains out there who will be screaming at me.
So the dangerous thing about doing all these continued lane swaps is it does open up Blitzcrank to roam across the map. Of course, Thresh is pretty happy with that too. Actually, it's going to be double Moby boots from both these supports, knowing that they're unlocked a fair amount, trying to impact this mid lane in particular as well, which we've seen, of course, the Corki suffer quite a lot for. He's about to cash in his cull. He'll do that with another wave. Has himself the Mana Mune as well built up on the Corki.
Right. Shove him mid. They're 4 men deep. They're going to try and potentially summon the Herald here. He's gone down. I think this will be a fight for Tara in the mid lane. I think it's probably just going to go down. The Herald is there. Depends whether they can get enough trade on, but 4 people here. Ebby's here. Meganar could think about going for it, but they don't manage to get it. They get most of the plates.
Okay, Meganar's now run out. Maybe they want to try and make a fight around this. There's a teleport available from the edge.
Seros coming for it. He's oh my days. That struck was just enough.
I've got to say, the heal, the strut, everything there so well calculated from Torimiyashi.
He needed it, though.
Yeah, he did definitely need it. There was no flash on the Blitz trying to go for a flashy hook there himself, but it's another defensive tool taken away from Torimiyashi. This is the guy we've said, if you leave him alone, he gets to a point where he can team fight. Most of the time, he'll end up out trading his opponent. But this game, they're really putting him under the cosh.
They are, and I think Seros, if he'd flashed, that would probably have gone down in trade because he would have been flashing super deep. And having burned his escape tools there, I think he probably would have.
Kindred was in the area, maybe?
Maybe, but I mean, he would have been going beyond the bush between 2 towers.
This is beyond science.
It would be beyond science, and I think probably just taking the heal off that AD carry is probably a worthy trade for now, at least. Sure. Not a lot burned outside of the cooldown.
Luckily, with that turret trade, well, not turret trade, but with the plates taken down the mid lane, there's a turret, so there's plates been taken in top and bot lane and 4 in the mid lane as well. Actually means that the plate advantage is slightly in favor of Sengoku, but of course, a lot of those plates came from a Herald. There were some waves traded for that. Pyrion's actually going towards, I think he just took a summon a smite there, actually, to take down the Grump more easily.
He does like this spellbook. It's been a defensive option for him, but that's been on a 1-versus-1 largely versus the Syndra.
That's actually something to say, though, right? Spellbook smite is actually pretty big.
Can be pretty
Double
big.
smite compared, of course, we saw Steel get a lot of smites because of his level advantage. You're going to have solo lane levels. Oh, Blank, I wouldn't walk in there, but he hasn't been seen. Okay, it's going to be all right.
He has now, and they put down the control one.
He feels safe.
Right. And this is setting up for the second Herald, which DFM are more than willing to fight for. They've got a Kindred who's strong. They've got an Azira, Nash's tooth. Gang is steaming forward. Flashes for the hook. Thought about it. Didn't miss that one. That style point wasn't found.
You miss all the hooks you don't take, and of course some of the ones you also take as well.
That's the way to phrase it. Utopia just kept walking forward, try to predict the flash.
Yeah, holds his nerve though, actually, which is, it's credit to Utopia actually knowing they didn't have to flash that. Of course, he was if he'd blown the flash and died for it, it would have been absolutely horrible, particularly with the next Herald spawning in a minute. It would have given DFM the run of the map up until that point.
And hear ye, it has been in 960 gold to 640 gold. There's a big fight in the mid lane, though, but DFM goes golden, and that means that this trade's going to go around. That bullet time didn't get as much done as they perhaps would have liked.
Yeah, stopwatch burn from Gang, though, and he's pretty low in terms of mana, and a little bit in terms of the HP as well.
They've got a chance to reset before Herald, though, I think.
They do, but the thing is that Utopia actually doesn't have himself the Essence Reaver, doesn't have himself the CDR for that ult at 20%, only has the 10% for the Core Field.
Backing now, he might get it from this.
And you probably will get it.
He won't have bullet time, which will be.
Yeah, but he won't have bullet time. And of course, he doesn't have the mana to stick around in the mid lane. And of course, no mana regen. It is taken out there as well. Corki, however, has found himself over into a side lane, has himself the teleport in the top lane, looking pretty happy on this Corki so far.
He is. Saros is up there joining him as well. 2-0, but it's down a little bit in CS until this wave pops up into him. But that's just kind of Corki in a side lane. He's just a bit safer than Azir.
It is. And there's slight advantage in the jungle towards Steel. It's even levels, though, which is important coming up to these next fights. The two early dragons have gone over towards DFM, though. It's another Cloud Rift. They have a Mountain. They have an Infernal. And the Cloud Rift, again, probably better for Sengoku this time because at least they don't have to deal with... Well, any of the game-ending souls. Although I have to say, Cloud Soul on Aphelios has been very important in the past. It just allows them to run down targets.
It does, and I don't mind it on something like on an Azir in a defensive situation. And Kindred as well, just jumping around in your ultimate, running around, can be quite helpful to avoid as much damage as you can. The second Herald will start, though, by DFM. They might be willing to give up the second Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon for Herald trade looks like. And there's the package available from Corki as well. It means that he's pretty happy to walk up and then, because you're unstoppable and you cast your package, it means you can just use that as a free kind of disengage as well when you look for a couple of auto trades.
All right, Cloud Drake is live. Sengoku Gaming have started. DFM are thinking about fighting, though. Second Herald summon in the mid lane, though. They're going to try and say, well, if you don't come up here, you're going to be in a difficult spot.
Oh, package used on Ebby, though.
Yeah, Ebby, though, has got Mega Gnar, and it's not going to pull all that much off. And Ebby with Mega Gnar now available, it's just going to zone people off along with Steel. It could be a double turret splash. Sengoku Gaming are in a very difficult spot. Blank is in a bit of an odd spot. He's trying to find his way forwards. Does manage to do so in fairly good aplomb. Second turret now under threat. Chakrams are there. It does go down 2 turrets for a first Drake for Sengoku Gaming. Not sure.
Yeah, so at least it stops the dragon stacking from DFM. NT just walking through the Azir turret there. But DFM, I'm credit to them. They know that if they take the Herald, they can get a really good... Yeah, they take the whole side of blue side jungle. They take themselves 2 towers. It's going to be a big gold swing in terms... It was a 1k lead. They've probably earned themselves about 2,000 gold off that play all in all.
So yeah, about 2.5 is looking like the advantage right here, which is fairly sizable coming into 16 odd minutes. 17 is just sticks over 2.
Yeah. However, at least Sengoku, they stop the immediate threat of the Cloud Soul, which is important because, unlocking that Elder earlier into the game might actually not be to their advantage. They probably want a couple of... I guess Elder happens when you've got a lot of your core items anyway. But yeah, it stops those kind of late game objectives coming up too early into the game, particularly if they don't feel like they're ready to fight for them at that point in the game.
Yeah. We've also got to point out that there was some arguments in the last game about our namings of heralds, and they both come down now. And tell me again, Nightmare, why it's important they both have different names.
So Shelly is the first herald.
That it is.
Shelly is the original, the one which we have known and loved for so long. Shirley is the second herald. It's Shelly and Shirley.
Shelly and Shirley, but we'll have to maybe talk about the importance of names a little later, because I did see people roaming top, but they were thinking about going over to Azir, but they're roaming back down, and then maybe we can go on to other things. No, greater things.
We've cast off the name of Harold the Herald.
Harold the Herald, please.
No. We are a Shelly crew here.
We are a Shelly crew here. And a Shirley crew for that.
And Shelly crew, yes.
And they are distinct entities. You don't get to just have the same name. It's not how it works. They deserve to be individuals, ladies and gentlemen.
We're all individuals. I learned
that apart from me.
Apart from you, of course. I think it's very important to note that there is, of course, once again, an item discrepancy on the AD carries.
It is.
Actually really not coming out of this laning phase very healthily compared to the Aphelios. However, 2 items completed for Pyrian. He has a Triforce, has himself the Manamune stacking up towards the Muramana. So when that item finally ticks over, if he gets himself a rapid fire cannon, Utapon is not going to be the strongest AD carry in the game, I don't think.
Potentially not, but it's also worth saying that DFM once again have double AD carry and an Azir. That means that Baron goes down really damn quick, and Pyrian potentially walking forward there, but Gang just speeds himself away. Hot Rod Blitzcrank with the afterburners looks pretty good to me. Pillar came down as well, so Blank was around to think about contesting. Steel now
okay, so the reason they didn't want to give up position there is because of actually
Kindred's just around taking a bit of damage there, and Steel will take.
The smite's available from Steel.
It just takes.
Oh no, okay, Blank gets it. Okay, so no mark for Steel.
I don't know how many marks Steel has. He's got 3, I think, is what looking at over in that little corner of the screen.
3.
So that's not a bad mark. He's just a little bit behind average, but 3 marks is great. 1 more mark, and he's at that big ticket range increase.
It's better than some marks I know. Some of them are very awful people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
some of them are very nice though. You know, it's a mid-ranged mark.
Is that Kindred's alter ego, Mark? Is that the third part?
Maybe that's what
the Holy Trinity, Lamb, Wolf, and Mark.
It's what Wolf goes by on the weekends.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's not Matt Mercer. It's Mark.
It's Mark. Matt Mercer being Wolf's voice actor.
He's also Gangplank as well.
He is Gangplank.
Yeah, he's does a lot of good work in League of Legends.
He does.
You know who's doing some good work this game?
I don't know.
I was trying to think of someone to call out there, but like. We're going to say Steel. Steel's been doing well. No, it's Gang. Gang's been doing really well. He's on the Blitzcrank.
Well.
This is obviously Blitzcrank bias. 80% to the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, the AI understands. It is also, however, about a 3,000 gold lead for DFM. They've got 2 Drakes. They've got a lot of towers. They've got that mid lane prio can actually be pretty huge. It means that Blank is going to struggle to find safety in his own jungle. Yeah. And when you've got a Blitzcrank finding you from beyond vision, that can be pretty damn scary.
Sure, but then this Corki is still scaling up pretty well. And if you fluff the engage and Corki is still alive, he deletes your team, right? You don't have anyone who can really stand up and deal with that Corki, so you need to deal with
exhaust this time.
No exhaust, of course, as well. And there's stuff like the barrier available. Steel getting cut right up on a turret.
He might have to flash. No, he gets out. Oh, he does get out!
Back!
That's pretty huge.
Aatrox is a fun champion!
Oh, he is, but Steel does survive with the Lamb's Respite. He's going to be just fine. Didn't burn his flash well, but that ultimate being down is pretty huge, especially with this Cloud Drake coming up in just under 20 seconds as I speak right now. He'll get back and he'll be around to contest, but that Lamb's Respite being down is pretty big.
It is really big. And Afferman didn't have to burn World Ender either, so he still has the ability
Bullet time's down, though.
Bullet time is down indeed. Yeah, the package is available from Corki, and he has the Muramana. There's no inner turret to push in the mid lane this time as well. They could be looking for a fight here.
They're going to try and find the
Kindred's not here yet.
They're on to Ebby. Ebby takes a lot. 4v5 it is, but actually Apperman's taken really low. And gets a massive shuffle. Utapon is going wild in the back. Ebby's going to get himself up to Meganar as well. He survives. It's a shutdown onto the Azir though, and that's pretty big. Actually, the fight has turned around. Utapon is here. He's in the front line, but I'm not sure he wanted to flash into that. Sengoku Gaming have turned it around, and Baron is live. Ebby's here. He gets 1.
Okay, that kill onto the Corki is huge. It stops the Baron opportunity there. Huge fight for Empyrean. I was talking about this 2-item spike, and as much as Utapon pulled so much weight, yeah, that's the T1 symbol we love to see. As much as Empyrean pulled his own weight in that fight, Utapon did, the Corki just has so much power. And what's very important as well is that NT's Lantern to save Pyrian from the Aphelios who was running rampant at the end of that fight, saved that fight very well from Sengoku. And then Ebby with the turnaround kill, also important, but the gold and the dragon going over to Sengoku, also very good in this game.
I genuinely thought DFM won that fight when the shuffle hit onto Yutori Miyashi, but Corki was in the back line. And Ebby not getting the Meganar in time was massive.
Yeah. I want to see actually how many. So still 3 marks on the Kindred actually. Still not got up to
Kindred
that range
wasn't there, 4v5.
Kindred wasn't there at the start of that. Didn't have the Lamb's Respite either. You force out that ultimate and you take a second fight. They have the ability to do that. Corki got a lot of gold in that fight. And of course, Yutori actually managed to get a lot of kill participation as well. So with that all said and done, Sengoku is somewhat evening up the gold once more. Only a 1,000 gold deficit once again. And the later it gets into this game, the less important that will be. Baron started up by DFM and no vision from Sengoku.
Yeah, and this time they're walking in. It's going to be a bit tricky. No package this time, and the Baron is going down damn fast. Gang's there. He's just body blocking. The shuffle away. Baron is down. Saros will die, and maybe Gang will as well. But that will be 2 kills for the Baron. I think it's probably worthwhile.
I actually wonder if they're going to be able to get out of here with all that. Steel might die as well. Looks like actually, yeah, okay. The Baron recalls come in. So 2 people die for the cost of that Baron there.
Probably worthwhile.
It does kind of delay a lot of their Baron tech, and they're going to lose a mid lane inner turret as well. I actually wonder
if Utapon's here. He's got ultimate.
He does. That's very true in its own way. The pillar will zone him off enough. And with also the Aatrox being there as well with the AD threat, Meganar running out. I think that's actually not an awful trade from Sengoku. It gets them a lot of gold into pocket from the kills and the turret, and the Baron push has been stalled out. Also, Pyrian is pushing into top lane too.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So let's look at this mid lane fight one more time and watch Pyrian's amazing package.
Okay, so so many players are really not in a position. They don't like using the package defensively. Having the package and then the Valkyrie to disengage from that fight period. Look at this. Yutapon stood in the ultimate there again, taking a lot of burn damage. The Aatrox is running wild. I love Appaman on this pick. Gets himself so much damage towards the end of that fight. And Pyrion manages to flash onto Steel, finish off that pick. And then Yutapon flashes forward. But unlike last game, there's no Yuumi, no massive advantage. And just that Lantern was very, very important to save Pyrion's life. Yeah, he is an Appaman amongst Appamen.
He really is, and he just managed to, Steel went over the wall, realized he couldn't be there, flashed back out and died anyway.
Yeah, and actually, Appaman now has himself up to 2 items, and this is the Sengoku we love to see. The Aatrox, for me, has been really important to their success. And look at this. There are so many turrets down already for Sengoku in these sidelines. DFM are going to find it hard to push in and take any objectives.
It's a negative Baron power play thus far.
It does mean that the Baron is off the map for Sengoku, but when DFM were in the advantage, they really would have wanted to gain more for that objective.
Yeah, and we're watching the 1-3-1 right now. DFM will rotate to where Ebby is, and Seros is up in that top side, and the shove will continue. Appaman needs to be a bit careful with no flash.
There's a wave here.
Gang gets...
good side stab.
I thought he was going to get it. He just stopped. He put that stop command, was pretty huge.
It was pretty nice there. Does get them this bot lane in a turret, and they might push on towards the inhibitor turret as well. Corki is not there to... Oh, actually, Seros might, with no flash here, might get engaged onto under this tower.
I'm going to think about going for it, but it'll be a bit risky. There is still the Azir set, gets a big one under the tower. Pyrion's now in a lot of trouble, taking a lot of damage, goes golden to Seros, and I think he's okay. Yes, he is.
Yeah, the wave actually coming up pretty huge there, blocking off.
That means 2 members not there to defend.
The inhibitor is
They're going to try and end.
They're looking for it. Seros, it has no mana. Oh, he's going to die, yeah. Okay, so Pyrion ends up getting there. He has a teleport as well. I don't think this will be the game-ending push, but the inhibitor in the bot lane does give a lot of pressure, and of course, super minions to the side of DFM.
It does, and that's probably... You could see what the plan was there. Seros, if he can interrupt double back, 4 versus 3 in that base with the big carry of Corki not there would be pretty huge.
And I have to say, actually, having a lot of Cloud Dragons... Oh, what's Appaman going to go here? Is he going to try and stop... Okay, Gang has had his... Gang and Ebby both had their recall stop pick. This could be horrible for DFM.
It really could. They're going to try and get onto it, but Yuto and Mayashi, they're going to try and find the way around. I think Gang's just dead. Flashing over the wall is...
Oh, that's going to be Corki TPing in as well.
Corki is TPing. Gang
Ebby's got out.
Ebby has got
out. On a package going in onto him. Ebby might die as well.
And we'll find out how he goes. But now, Ebby's here, going to try and find his way around this map. Blanks around. Has Ebby got a way out? I think he's going to hop that pillar. That's pretty good. Steals here. And there is the Lamb's Respite.
But that's been forced out now as well. And it won't be up in time for the Cloud Dragon fight. I think even though you want to save the Gnar there, that's still a big loss for DFM.
Package is down for that fight as well, though. And that is something. And we'll see how that continues to play out. And of course, with the inhibitor down, that's a big deal.
Okay. Oh, apparently we've been a couple of seconds behind. So this is the problem when you're doing a bootleg stream. Sometimes, you end up doing some time. Hopefully we're doing pretty well with that stuff. So sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. It's kind of part and parcel of the kind of bootleg experience.
It is
of the whole split.
We've done pretty well so far.
Okay, you know he's doing really well though. Corki, he's got himself throughout.
He has.
Really big.
He's pretty big. That inhibitor being down is the advantage for DFM. Right now they have forced the flash out. That's pretty big.
Graviton Mob's been flashed away from there. That's pretty big.
It is Steel wandering around, trying to find their way in. There's a teleport in behind. Gnar is nearly here at the mega point. He's going to find it. That's a big shot.
Bullet time.
Bullet time is massive. Gang kills Blank. Appaman dead as well. Pyrion's got no flash. He's a shutdown. And I think they found it again. DFM with a clutch fight. It's an ace. A clean ace at that. And they've got an inhibitor dead. They can try and end.
That is absolutely huge once more. Big team fight from DFM using their globals, using their point of power. Yutori actually once again not being able to stand and shoot too many things to really get in the way of his game there. And with death time is this long, I think we're looking at a 2-0.
I think we are, and it's worth saying that Gnar in the first series could not find an engage to save his life. Yesterday against V3 he did. Today in the clutch, Ebby did again. DFM will move to 2-0, and my prediction of a 3-0 revenge is coming ever closer.
It is indeed so. Game 2 done, dusted, consigned to the record books. 2-0 for DFM, looking rampant on today's grand finals. Mass1, what are your thoughts?
DFM had a very strong performance there. More opportunities than ever, though, for Sengoku in that game. And honestly, I wouldn't be so confident for that 3-0 initialize.
Neither am I.
Because it doesn't feel like... That first game was pretty confidently DFM until they This second game was not clean at all from DFM. It does reminisce me of mid-season DFM, where it looked like opportunities were there, but no team could quite take it till Sengoku did in the latest weeks.
But the thing about DFM is they picked a comp which does have some options when it's not a clean game. Particularly the Blitzcrank. That gang performance, particularly in the early game, set DFM up for so much success. Yutori Miyashi has not had a good first 2 games. He's been focused very hard. He's ended up making a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, I think it's fair to say, particularly that first death in the bot lane after, of course, the flash have implode when NT died as well. Steel's pathing on the Kindred very much punishing the bot lane of Sengoku.
Yeah, I think you're right to call it out as not clean, but that's just sometimes the issue when you have 2 teams who are actually quite good. They find ways to engage and punish each other, especially around areas where there is room to outplay. And Pyrian in particular tried really damn hard to pull off some good outplays.
Pyrian's had a really good series though.
He has.
Dying 2 times on the Corki in the mid was kind of sucky.
But that has been the advantage for DFM, right? It has been good early games, both games around, and it's been clutch late games. So and that's a big deal.
I mean, it really does raise a lot of questions over on the side of Sengoku. You need to protect Yutori Miyashi, probably a slightly more priority, because he keeps getting just dove upon dove upon dove, and it does become kind of concerning because this is the man that has carried a lot of games.
So I've just got a bit of a point on that one. I would be interested to hear what my color cast has to think about it, but this has been 2 games in a row now, not necessarily just to the Kindred, but of a red buff to bot lane pressure move from Steel. This time around, it got them the first blood in the bot lane, and in fact, it's on the mainstream right now. And I wonder whether they need to be aware of that pathing option from Steel now.
I think that they didn't respect it enough. They were pushing into turrets and they had no vision in river. They hadn't put down their wards yet. And once again, we see that the second death, Venti was working out for a ward, no communication. The Lantern was interrupted by gang. That, you don't always expect that, but you have to respect that it can happen, right? So I think that the bot lane, while they have been a rock in the second half of the split for Sengoku, it's just not giving them the pressure that they used to playing around, and they are struggling with that.
Yeah, I mean, gang's just rotating around the map far more effectively, and it just doesn't seem like they've got that same kind of communication.
I wonder, actually, whether I'd like to see an Ezreal out of Yutori Miyashi. So it still scales well into the mid game, where you do want to fight a lot of time, but it does give you some early game mobility in some ways, and it helps you deal with some of the longer range threats like the Azir, who can threaten with the shuffle, because if you have to flash out from that as the misfortune, because let's be honest, there aren't too many ways to sidestep that if Azir is within distance of you, then at least Ezreal can start trying to return fire a bit better. Yutori Miyashi, he's had the ultimate, but then having the Lamb's Respite on kind of just on cooldown, really just being able to walk into these fights. This is why the Corki's been working so well, right? He's got some repositions. The Misfortune's been really struggling with that in the fight so far.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of options for both these teams. We are going to be going on a very short break, and we'll come back with more of our thoughts and our prediction going into this third and potentially final game with DFM having match point. We'll see you there very, very shortly.